Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Phil. My channel's name is Show Phil, and we are currently working on a 52 Chevy project right now. If you haven't done so already, hit that big red subscribe button for me. It's actually free to sign up on YouTube. Doesn't cost any money, so smash that big red subscribe button, smash that notification icon so you know when future videos do come out that I post, as we've got a lot of stuff with the truck coming out, and if the truck doesn't fit your fancy, we've got other stuff coming out too in the future, so roll the intro. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're back on the 52 Chevy. This time we're going to be working on the wheel tubs. Right now we don't know what the back spacing is of the tire, so we're going to take one of the rear tires off, check the back spacing on the tire, and we're going to check how tall the tire stands when on the ground. That way we're going to air the truck down and measure the height of the tire inside the bedside, so hopefully we can fit wheel tubs in there on the inside of the bed using trailer fenders, which we picked up off of eBay. They're about 60 bucks for a pair of two of these. Really nice trailer fenders. I'll leave a link in the description down below so you know where I got them. So that's what we're going to be working on today. We're going to try to go for probably like a 4-inch tub into the back bed, which would give us a lot more options for tires and rear rims when we get to that stage, which is coming up very soon. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to take the rear tire off the truck, measure the back spacing, measure how high it is actually standing. We will lower the truck down, air it out, and measure on the inside of the back bed where it's actually going to lie, and check to make sure that it's not any higher than the back of this fender. What I want to make sure is that this tire isn't tucking up inside the fender, and it kind of curves. So we don't want the tire to be tucked up inside and then be stuck with a wider tire if the actual tub is lower than the height of the fender. So I think we're going to be okay, but we just want to measure to make sure. And if everything's okay, we're going to start cutting into the fender, making the trailer fender the correct width that we need, cutting that out and welding it in place there. So let's get to it. So these are the trailer fenders picked up off of eBay. I think they're like 63 bucks for a pair of them. They're probably about 8 inches wide. We're going to actually cut these down to about 4 inches or so, I'm guessing, is how wide the tub will actually be before we get to the frame. We can't go past the frame. There's no point in doing that. There is a filler panel that will go in on this side, which will weld on the back side, and then we'll smooth it out with a little filler at the end when we need to. But these should work out really nicely, as long as they're not lower than the actual tire. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jack up the back to get the tire off. We're going to use this little scissor jack. So we're going to slide this under the back, jack the back up, take the tire off, measure the back spacing, measure how high the tire sits right now, and then we'll go from there. I use this with a socket. Works perfect on the scissor jack. Got the tire off. We're going to measure how high it is from the ground up to the top of the tire right now. Then I'm going to flip it face down and measure the back spacing on the rim. Just measuring right up the center of the tire how tall these are standing. 25.5 inches. So no matter what we get for rims, they can't be any taller than 25.5 inches, because that's what I base the entire geometry and suspension off of, is these tires are 25.5 inches tall. So when we do air the truck out, it will sit down within about a half an inch of the ground. So we're going to stick with the 25.5 inch size. So if we go with bigger rims, we need to go with smaller tires. We go with smaller rims, we need to go with bigger tires. That's how we're doing that. And we're going to measure from the outside of the rim down to the mating surface. What the distance that is, that'll be the back spacing on the rim. About a 3 7/8 back space. Jot these down so we don't forget. Alright, so we have the back spacing of the rim measured, we have the height of the tire measured, so now we're going to put the tire back on the truck, lower the truck down off the jack, lower the truck down with the air ride system, lower this down on the lift so we get easier access to it, and we're going to measure how high the tire is actually on the inside of the bedside. Now we're going to lower the truck off the scissor jack. This is how I'm doing it with the scissor jack and my drill. Just easily increase. It goes right back down really easily. Socket on the scissor lift. Now that the truck's back down, we're gonna air the truck out so it's actually in its resting position without air in the system. Get you a little closer so you can see what we're measuring now. So the truck's completely aired out right now, and I know that the tire sits 25.5 inches high. So I'm going to measure from the floor of the lift, which will be the ground, up 25.5 inches, and hopefully this bolt and this bolt and this bolt are where the top of the fender bolts on the outside. I'm hoping that 25 inches will be just below these bolts, which will make it perfect for what we need. If it's any higher, then this won't work. This is where the center of the axle is, and we are about 26.5 inches is where the actual fender bolts on the outside, which means we'll be in good shape. If we do 26 inches, that'll give us a 1/2 inch clearance with the fender tub. Should come out right here. The tub will be about, say 4 inches. We're going to do the tub about 4 inches. That gives us about 5/8 of an inch clearance to the frame. That'll come out really good. So we're going to cut the fender at 4 inches. Do that on the welding table and lay it flat. We can mark 4 inches all the way around, nice and even. We'll line it up on here. We'll trace this out on the bedside here. We'll cut the bedside out. We'll set the fender tub in place. We'll tack weld it in from the back side. We'll jack the truck back up, take the tire off. That way it gives us easier access to work on the inside here. But we know exactly where the center is where this axle is lining up. Pretty much the center bolt right here is the center. Should be like that on both sides. So we're going to do one side, and then we'll do the next side. We're going to start with the passenger side just because it's a lot easier. The clearance on that side, we only have about 2 feet to work between the wall and the truck. So we're going to go this way first. I think this should work out nicely. So let's get trailer fender cut first, 4 inches. So we got the trailer fender here. This is the side we're going to end up keeping. So really, it's nice and flat here. I'm going to clamp it down to the table with a couple clamps just to help hold it in place while we do this. Now this is clamped down perfectly flat to the table. I'm going to scribe a 4-inch mark along the entire way. That'll be our cut mark for when we cut the fender for the fender tub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tape a Sharpie to my little compass here. So I have a nice Sharpie mark instead of a pencil mark. So I'm going to take the ruler and measure 4 inches with the compass. About 4 inches right there. So let's see how this goes. Really good. So that's 4 inches right here. I might end up using my electric shears and cut this. We'll see. So let's take this off right now. We'll set up the driver's side fender on here. Get that marked at the same time. Since we have the compass all set up. You can see the marking on it. Came out really good. This is the side we're keeping right here. It's nice and flat, has a nice curve. Came out pretty good. So now we're going to work on getting the fenders cut. Shears is probably the easiest and cleanest way, as long as the metal's not too thick. It doesn't have to shoot sparks everywhere, it's not flinging little metal shards everywhere. So we're going to try that first, see how that goes. So far, working perfect. I need to be a little bit taller to get it up here, but yeah, we'll make it work. So this is what the tub's going to look like on the inside of the bed. Like this. That. So that's a 4-inch tub right there. And While we have the shears out, let's cut the other one and get that done with. So one side done. The next step I think we're going to do is we're probably going to end up welding in these pieces before we get to actually modifying the bed at all. Just to keep them rigid, keep them in the right shape you want, and it's going to be a lot easier to weld these pieces in off the truck on the welding table versus after we get it on the truck. We're going to have to try to clamp it in place. Here we can at least clamp it down nice and tight to the table to get a nice clean weld. Little shameless plug for Harbor Freight. Not sponsored by them, but hit me up if you want to. 68199. These are the metal shears I've been using. These, really cheap, cuts the metal like butter, nice and clean cut. I've been using these for at least a year or two now. I'm not professional with these at all. However, they do work, they do cut metal. Take it or leave it, but I recommend these. They work great, they're cheap. If they break, I'll go buy another pair any day. So this will be the inside of the actual fender tub. This piece of metal here. This gets laid down inside the back side of the tub here. Relatively centered. Just push down really tightly and just tack along the entire way on the inside here. That'll help us keep the shape of the fender we want. And it'll give us a nice appearance on the outside edge. I need to clean this up with some acetone as there is some oil on there. We're going to get tacking this into place. So right now I've got this completely tacked in on the inside of the fender tub. This welding table works out perfect, being that it's nice and flat. I can clamp everything down nice and evenly. And I'll flip this over now so you can see what the other side is going to look like. This is the inside of the fender tub. You're not going to see it. So we'll see what the other side looks like. So I just flipped this over real quick so you can see what it's actually looking like on the outside that you're actually going to see from the inside of the bed. This is nice small lip right around here. This will just get a little bit of a filler right in here to smooth this all out. Tack welds are coming out nicely. They're not distorting the metal at all. I'm just going to keep doing that around the entire inside perimeter until it's completely welded in place. And this is what it's going to look like when it's inside of the bed. It's coming out really nice. Really good. Should look really nice inside the truck. So let's do the next one now. I'm going to work on marking the exact center of the wheel tub here. Got the center line marked for the wheel tubs on both sides. Now we're going to go over to the truck and figure out where these are going to line up and actually start marking and tracing out where these are going to go, cutting some of the old bed supports out of the way that are no longer needed, and we'll get these mocked up in place. Marking the center line square to the axle. So right now we're going to jack up the truck again, get the back tire back off so it won't be in the way when we're actually cutting the rear inner fender out. So right here we have the center line for where the axle goes. That's the center, which lines up perfectly with the center fender bolt. And then over here, I marked 15.5 inches over, as well as over on the other side right there. So we're gonna cut a little section out right here. We're gonna cut a little like 3-inch section out here and a little 3-inch section out here so we can set the actual wheel tub in place. Once it's set in place, we're gonna mark the arc where that will sit. We'll cut that arc out. Once that arc is cut out, then we'll set the wheel tub in place and tack it in place. And rinse and repeat onto the driver's side. Now we're going to test fit the wheel tub. It's going to look just like that. It's not perfect, but I'll use the flap wheel to clean up and make it more precise. So I'm going to take the fender off the rear right now. It'll make it easier to actually get in there and weld the tub into place. So we're going to take the fender off right now and tack the tub into place. Once the tub is completely tacked in place, finish welded into place, then we'll put the fender back on. Alright, so now that we got the fender taken off, we're going to clean all this up with the flap wheel on the grinder so we can actually weld the wheel tub in. We're going to hit it with some acetone right now, just make sure it's nice and clean, and we're going to tack the wheel tub in place. It's all cleaned up with acetone, ready to weld in the wheel tub. It's all tacked in right now. Now we're going to finish weld it in, get the fender back on. So we have this completely finished welded in place. I'll probably end up hitting it with the flap wheel just to smooth it out just a little bit, but you're not going to see anything in here. So the wheel tub looks like on this end. This is what it looks like inside the bed. Came out really nice. We'll just touch up the corner where the wheel tub meets the actual bedside. We'll touch that up with probably a little bit of a filler just to smooth it out nice and neat. Other than that, it came out really nice. So right now the wheel tub's completely welded in place. We're going to bolt the rear fender back onto the bedside right now. Alright everyone, that's going to be a wrap for this video. As you can see, we got the wheel tubs in the back of the truck, 100% completely fabricated and installed. They came out absolutely perfect. Super happy with how they came out. In a future video, we're going to be working on exhaust, radiator, AC condenser mock-up. We're even going to be getting to the air tanks and the compressor mock-up. And then we also have an electronic parking brake that I'm going to be testing out, seeing if I can get that to work. So that's all coming up in future episodes. I believe in the next episode, we're going to be working on the Y pipe. I bought an '89 Camaro MagnaFlow stainless Y pipe, but it does not fit this truck at all. So what we have to do is we have to chop it all up into pieces and actually make it fit. So that's coming up in the next video. So as always, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Smash that notification icon down below so you know when future videos do come out. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.